The United States economy is in a recession, but it's not the normal one that people think about, and it is not showing clear signs of a recession just yet, unless you peek underneath the hood and you look at some data points that not everyone is talking about. So today, I'm going to reveal the signs of the recession and talk about how we are in a potential asset bubble. Now, let's dive into this last point here on how the US might be in an asset bubble, and that is actually what Donald Trump and company really wants. Now, first, of course, we see the headline here that the United States economy is in a bubble and there's no way to escape it, right? This is as of April 11th. And they're saying Donald Trump suspending the U.S. tariffs above 10% for imports other than China. Investors let out a collective sigh of relief, but still, the events of the recent weeks show that the president is serious about pushing the interest. Now, let's get back to the point at hand. Is the U.S. still in a bubble? Well, I mean, even looking back to last year, we had the bubble talks in December 6th. Are we in the bubble, or is the U.S. just in a or is the stocks extremely expensive? Excuse me, fumbling over my words here. And yesterday, or the other day, we had the U.S. stock market closing at new record highs. But the reality of all of this is that the consumer is hurting extremely, and people are flocking and putting their money into assets like the stock market, like real estate, but they want more liquid assets. So they go with the stock market, even though that is not its 24/7, 365. We all know Bitcoin, who have know me from various channels. That is my go-to liquid market. And it seems like that's what sees the most fluctuation, but people are diversifying and putting it into the stock market. And that's why we're starting to see this rapidly grow. But we are seeing some issues in the overall consumer. Texas manufacturing businesses are again falling because of prices that are due to the tariff issues. So we've got tariff pressures now hurting manufacturers, and they're even citing the tariffs and saying that business to business issues and productions are way down. The Texas manufacturing index for the general business activity, which gave 80 business exec, climbed to minus 12% to minus 15% in May. So it's the fifth straight month of contraction when the share of firms recording decreasing activity outweighs the report of an increase. Man, I am fumbling over my words today, so I apologize to everybody. But the reality is these asset bubbles can cause recessions. The reasoning, well, assets bubbled are formed when market prices in some sectors increase over time and trade far higher than the fundamentals would suggest. An expansion of the supply of money and credit and an economy provides the necessary fuel for bubbles. Now, let's read that again. It's the expansion of the money supply and credit. Now, what is Donald Trump really pushing for here? He's yelling at Jerome Powell from the top of his lungs, we need to cut interest rates and we need to do it now. Now, why is he doing that? Well, he realizes that the overall economy, what people really look at is, hey, the stock market. The stock market is doing well. That's a positive indicator of all of this, right? So when we see, Trump saying, hey, we've got the best economy we've got the best economy ever last time I was in office. Well, what is the number one thing he points at? He points at the stock market. So year to date, we're about flat right now, but we see the giant tariff rate here. And so if you look at the way that the stock market worked or was performing under his last administration, Donald Trump saw a huge positive bump there. And so he cited, hey, you know what? The stock market underneath me was 10 times better than it was under Joe Biden. That was one of his main talking points. And so it's obvious from the way that he campaigned that this is the way that he looks at the economy and the way that he realizes a lot of consumers look at the economy. But the one thing is that consumer confidence has dropped drastically here in June. In fact, we're seeing it drop sharply here. The US consumer confidence fell, with it dropping 5.4 points to 93. Both present and future outlooks weakened, with expectations plunging, signaling recession risks. Now, what is another thing that I always say here on this channel for those of you guys who keep on coming back, and be sure you're hitting that subscribe button and like button for me. But I always say that a recession occurs when the consumer loses confidence. It's just like the dollar, right? When people start losing confidence in the overall dollar in the United States, well, or in globally, they start to trade in other currencies. These other currencies start to move around and they start to strengthen when it comes to the dollar. Now, we are seeing this drastically. Actually, when I pulled this up earlier today, we are at 96. And of course, I'm over in Europe having a hot girl summer over here. And, we're seeing it start to climb up today. But previously we saw it in 96, which is dangerously low levels. Now we're seeing it at 97, which is still not great, right? You have to think you want the dollar to be at least 100, preferably above that, to show that it's stronger than these other fiat currencies. But it's falling a little bit below. Anyway, beside the point, what we're talking about here is that consumer confidence is falling. Pessimism is growing about job prospects, business conditions, and income expectations. And in fact, inflation and tariffs remain the top concerns. I call BS on this tariffs talk. I don't think anybody around the country is really talking about tariffs. I think they're more worried about inflation and inflationary risks. But the inflation fears are slightly eased, allegedly, right? And I think that everybody sees these numbers and see them getting reported and realizes they're all kind of BS, right? The JOLTS job report was opening yesterday, and we saw a huge surge in the market. And we're going to get to that surge here in a second, what we saw. But this job openings we saw as, hey, you know what? Jobs are all open. We're starting to move it around. We're starting to hire. But the reality is that jobs are opening, but hiring is extremely, extremely slow. So the unemployment rate is very, very low at 4.2%. And the market is happy it's not worse, right? I mean, so at this point, the market is just satisfied with everything just being as is, not improving, because they're worried that there's going to be some issues afoot here. So how is the U.S. economy doing, right? If you ask AI, they're saying it's doing a mixed bag with some positive signs and some areas of concern. While growth has been overall, the first 3 quarters saw a contraction of GDP, the market marking the first decline in 3 years. Personal PCE consumption expenditures are up, but the current account deficit has widened. And of course, the number everybody is always talking about here, the U.S. debt clock. Don't stare at this for too long, folks. You might get dizzy. But that debt, man, oh man, it finally passed that $37 trillion. And it's probably going to pass 38, 39 here pretty soon. And so the debt keeps trickling up and keeps rapidly increasing. Hiring is slowing. And there's really, international trade is slowing, but the stock market is about flat. So the mixed bag of the economy is like, hey, we maybe need some more liquidity to prop this up. And that's why Trump is always banging the drum and telling everybody we need to cut interest rates. We need to cut interest rates. But he isn't doing that. Or Powell isn't going to do that. Powell is staying strong. We're seeing the interest rates at 21.2% for a chance for a cut. And, to be quite honest, I don't see Jerome Powell cutting interest rates here. He's been holding strong. And the next meeting isn't for about 28 days. So another, at the end of this month. And I really just don't see this happening because Powell has just been higher for longer. We saw overall inflation still rise up and be positive, be higher than what people really anticipate. And so because we are seeing this, I think it's only customary that we have Jerome Powell and Trump essentially at odds. I mean, more power to Powell because he's literally watching Donald Trump just go off on him on a daily basis on X and Truth Social, literally calling the guy an idiot to millions of people. But he's holding strong because he realizes what we all realize here, what the Dixie is showing. The dollar isn't strong because overall inflation is still running high, right? But because inflation is running high, the stock market is doing just all right. I mean, we're looking at this stuff and saying, hey, you know what? S&P 500, we're going to open above. We're not going to be oh so terrible. This is going to show a lot of positive signs here. So the market and the assets are showing, hey, we could be in a bubble, at least in my opinion, because we're seeing the stock market close at record highs, but we're seeing businesses and manufacturing contract above these pressures. And of course, there's a lot of factors when it comes to a bubble, right? There's technological factors, incentives, public policies, market psychology, and emotions. Bubbles you eventually burst. They tend to leave economic pain in their wake, such as a recession or depression. So I think the reality is that this bubble is bound to pop eventually, but we aren't quite there yet. But we are in an asset bubble, if you ask me. If you look at the traditional valuation metrics, it looks like everything is running hot. What's up, McLovin? I'm having a great day so far out here in Spain. If any of you guys are here in Spain, shoot me a DM on Twitter or Instagram and let me know where you guys are hanging out, or give me some recommendations. I would love some recommendations. I'm out here for a little bit. I've got a surprise for you guys. I'm doing a vlog here coming soon. So if you guys didn't know, for those of you who check this channel out, I have another YouTube channel. You can go and search it. It's my Instagram handle. It's literally Keys Open Doors and all underscored here. But I'm going to be putting a vlog on this channel here where I'm going to be doing running with the bulls here pretty soon. So if you guys want, subscribe to this channel first, but then also jump over to this channel, hit that subscribe button because I'm out here in Spain, and come to the chat, hit the bell notification so you guys are coming to the chat and joining McLovin in here. And I appreciate you guys all for coming out.